Were there consequences for you, like in the industry, for that trial in 2004? Like, did you feel like left out in some way?
I mean, I did, because when I went into that courtroom and seeing how many people and recognizable faces and people of power that were on the other side across from me, not on my side supporting me, it just also made me think how many people just didn't come to the courtroom or didn't write letters, but are telling this person at dinner that they support them, you know, and thinking, oh, writing a letter is a career death sentence. So, but I'll tell you I support you at dinner, you know, and it's just all those things go through your mind. So when you walk into an audition room or you're going to work on some set or you're doing something, you're like, how many of these people are like, or you, yeah, it's, and having the letters now confirm that, yeah, I think that, you know, I always in the back of my mind knew that there were outside forces, but to see it in black and white, some handwritten, is pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, did you felt like the impression that you got labeled like difficult to work with, for example, in some future projects?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the letters express that. I mean, a lot of the letters are very, you know, this was Drake's fault, and this happened because Drake is a problem, and I mean, it's just, I mean, they're really wild. It's really wild to read that about yourself when you were just some kid trying to do what you love, you know.
And do you think that those people really meant what they wrote in the letters, or were they just like portraying the industry side of things or the status quo side of things? Like, do you think that it was really them, or was it just like an order from a high executive, like, you need to tell this, you need to defend this guy?
No, I mean, I think it really came from them. I mean, when you read these letters, they're very personal and I mean, some of them obviously kind of think like, okay,
They asked
maybe a
favor,
lawyer structured this letter and whatever, but a lot of them are handwritten and expressing a great deal of admiration and respect, and you know, this is my mentor, I've known him for so many years, he had to have been tempted and influenced beyond belief before he caved in. I'm like, come on, you know. So,
and you continue to work with some of those people. Like, when you were on trial, there were some of those people on set, like on the, like, present.
There were some that weren't in the courtroom that I later, just recently found out, wrote letters that I had no idea had written letters, and that I went on to work with.
Yeah, but in that case, you had no idea.
No idea.
But you saw some people that day on the trial, and you continued to work with those people on set.
Yeah, I mean, there's people I worked with on Spider-Man that were in the courtroom. On his side, there were people who wrote letters that I worked with in the future, different projects. And I mean, like I said, Hollywood's a really small place, so you're bound to
work with
cross paths again, you know.
And how did your behavior on set change from that moment on?
I don't know if it was so much on set, but it was definitely at home, because when you're on set, I mean, you know, you're just trying to get through the day and keep people you want to keep your job, you know, and you don't want to have this great opportunity taken from you that you worked so hard for. So I think on set you put on a mask, and you know, you just joke with people and make sure you know your lines and try and be as professional as you can. But I think it's behind the scenes and in the personal life that you're dealing with all of this, and it kind of overlaps into, you know, missing days at work or showing up late or getting bad publicity and the network having to talk to you about that and you wanting to scream and say, where do you think this is coming from?
Yeah.
Like don't, don't pull me into the room because there's some behavior that you're witnessing and it needs to stop because I'm on a kids show and I need to be a good influence and I need to be a good example and this is making the network look bad. It's like, why is like,
that's a symptom only,
yeah,
right?
shouldn't you be sitting me down and saying, we know what you've just been through and what can we do to help and how can we, facilitate, should we, we're $1 billion corporation. Would you like some therapy that we pay for? Would you like somebody to be on set with you to make you feel comfortable, to make you feel safe? Should we hire some sort of professional that's not just a set teacher, maybe somebody in the mental health world or just anything to... Instead, it was, you need to stop doing this and you need to be, you need to toe the line because you have a responsibility to the network to keep up appearances and act and behave a certain way. And in my mind, I'm just going, yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be really great if easier said than done.
Yeah. So you never got that moment?
No.
And never?
No.
Never? Nobody came to you and were like, I know what you're dealing with?
No.
They only continue to do their job?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't ask questions?
No.
They just continued to do their job?
Yeah. It would be,
that's crazy.
We've noticed you're showing up late to work. Oh, somebody told us that you were seen at a bar last night and this and that. And somebody, just whatever it was. And it would always be like, this behavior has to stop. It's not good for the network. It's not going to be a good look for the show. And you're jeopardizing everything that we're working on. And you need to straighten up or this could all go away.
And when it came to the actual performance, like the actual acting, you interpreting Drake in the series, how did that affect? Because for me, it's crazy to hear all this story because I watched the show when I was small and I had no idea and it didn't seem that you were struggling with all of those things when I was watching the show. I think you made a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Acting your character. It was based on you, so I can see the similarities between yourself and the actual character.
Yeah.
But when it came to the actual performances, how did those demons manifested, or how did you quiet them and just acted?
That was a huge escape for me when I was on stage and the lights went up and Josh and I started doing our thing. It just kind of all went away. That was a time when I could just breathe and have fun. And so those were, I look back at it really, even though there was all this tragedy and trauma, I look back at it fondly as a good time in my life as well, because I did have all of these wonderful experiences and I did make great lifelong friends with cast and crew and people that I worked with and yeah, just when it's like playing the big game. It's like, you've got all of this stuff going on, but when you run out onto that field, you get blinders on and you have one focus and you're getting the opportunity to do what you've trained for and what you've worked so hard towards, and this is the moment and ready, action, and everything just kind of goes away and you get to kind of be in this fantasy that you've had for so long. Yeah,
and I think you should be proud of all those years, because even though you were dealing with all that stuff, you did get the job done.
Yeah.
And the series was a really big success.
Yeah, and I get to walk around and people tell me how much joy it brought to their lives and how their families were able to sit around the TV and watch it together. And, people telling me, oh man, that was the only, me and my brother used to fight all the time, but when Drake and Josh was on, we'd sit down and we'd get along and we'd laugh together and it brought us closer. And so that's really meaningful. And when, I wouldn't not only take my experience away, I wouldn't want to not have that experience for myself, but also just what I see, the effect I see it has had on people around all over the world. You know, I can't be anything but grateful and thankful for that.
I saw a story of yours that you were building up your old set, your old room. Was it for a music video?
That's part of this music video. Yeah.
Of the one that comes out tomorrow?
Yeah.
Which is also, it's actually out right now, so people can go.
I think it's out. Yeah. It is out. It's out. Yeah. We recreated the Drake and Josh bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was surreal. I mean, I was sitting when
because
we talked
it's a unique setup, bro. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's iconic. Like, yeah. I mean, the second you see it, and growing up on that set, I mean, I that was like my home, you know, and I just loved that room so much because, like you said, like the bed being on the platform, everything, it was such a unique room. It had so much cool stuff in it, and I just loved it. And when we talked about recreating it, I was like, man, that's going to be really hard to do. Like, how are we going to do that? And then we started building it, and when we were done and ready for the video, I went and sat on the couch just to sit down. I like not to like, okay, let me experience this. Like, no, I just went and sat down on the couch, and I was just like, okay, this is strange. Yeah. Okay, this is really strange. I haven't been here for so many years, but I felt like it was yesterday that I was there. And I'm just sitting on that couch and looking around and going, wow, this is a trippy experience. But luckily, it was more happy, nostalgic feelings that were coming back to me.
Yeah.
You know, those are the things that I remember. I realize through talking about this and discussing it with a lot of friends and people who are around at that time, they bring up moments that I completely blacked out. Like, I don't realize that I've had so much trauma blocking, like, where, you know, I really do try or I don't try, but I think just subconsciously my memory holds on to the good things and sort of pushes all of the bad that was going on out. And so luckily I was able to sit down, and all of the good emotions and memories started flooding back. And I was
it's a survival mechanism from your body and from your mind. And there's some kind of memories that are encrypted in a way that only certain configurations can unlock them. Like there's kinds of memory that only come to you with certain smells, for example.
Yeah.
Or certain spaces actually.
Smell is a big one. I mean, smell is it's the sense closest tied to memory. So I'll walk in somewhere and I'll smell something and I'll be like instantly put back, rather than like seeing something or feeling something. And I get it. You smell and you're just like, whoa. I mean, that's like, there's a very nostalgic feeling when I smell sawdust. Like
what's that, sawdust?
It's like, it's
I can look away.
It's like when you're cutting wood.
Okay.
The stuff that cut, you know.
Acerrín, it's called in Spanish.
Yeah.
Sawdust.
And because exactly, there's a very, like, whenever I smell that, I'm instantly because every set, they're building the sets. So whenever you smell sawdust, if I'm in wherever I'm at, like if I walk into a furniture factory or something and I smell that, I'm instantly on a set, or when I walk onto a set and I smell that, I'm like, I'm home. Yeah. Okay. Like there's certain smells that you get where you're instantly put in that in that place.
I was speaking to Dana Paola, which is a Mexican actress.
Yeah, I know Dana Paola.
Yeah, she was also a child star. Actually, she's releasing an album called Child Star.
Oh wow.
Which seems pretty interesting, and she was telling me that the smell that reminded her most of her infancy was the smell of like the lights from the set, like the melting plastic or something like that, and the cable smells. Yeah, all of that, and it's really interesting. It puts you right back into that place. It's interesting.